Well, hello, everyone. It is 11 a.m. Central Time here in St. Louis, where I'm located. So we're going to get started. So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Expium's Jira Work Management for All webinar. So I really hope that you find this webinar of value. Hope that it's worthy of your time, this hour in your day today, and full of helpful information and examples for your team. My name is Jason Kidner. I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hour. So I am a solutions architect here at Expium. I'm also a Safe Program Consultant, or SPC, and I am an Atlassian certified professional. I'm also joined by my colleague, Elizabeth Wheeler, who's going to be monitoring the Q&A area on the Zoom meeting, and she's also going to be posting some helpful links. So please check out the chat area as well for some cool stuff she's going to be sending your way. Before I jump off the slide, I also don't know if you've heard the good news, but Valiantis and Expium have joined forces. We joined forces at the end of 2022. So as you can see in the bottom left corner of this slide, Expium is now a Valiantis company. And so what this really means for you is that our team just got bigger, just got larger. So, but you're going to see that now on our website and at other places where you've seen the Expium logo in the past. All right, let's jump to the agenda. It's a pretty basic agenda today. So we're going to go through some introductory thoughts around just work management, working as a team, working better as a team. Then the bulk of the webinar is going to be what we're calling examples. These are going to be like real life scenarios that you or your team might be facing. And we're going to show you how Atlassian tools and some processes that go along with those tools could help, hopefully help you and your teams out with managing your work. And then at the very end, we're going to have a time for some Q&A. And then also in the middle, there's going to be a short commercial break where we're going to be doing a giveaway. And today's giveaway is, you can see this, it's a really cool power bank. Okay, so we're going to name the lucky winner during the commercial break about halfway through the webinar. So please stick around. You might be that lucky winner. So, despite the name of this webinar, it's not just about Jira Work Management. That's the actual product that Atlassian has created and offers, though we will be demoing that. So over the next hour, I'd like to show you an array of tools and processes that will help you and your team work in a better way, no matter what type of team you're on. So this slide focuses on working a better way to work. So what does that really look like? Just a few thoughts, high-level thoughts here. So a better way to work means making work visible. Okay, you're going to see that very much in these tools. It also means having clear next steps in your processes. Also making work collaborative, helping you work together well. Fourth, using flexible tools that change as quickly as your environment changes, right? Change is always happening. You want tools that can kind of keep up and you can customize for your changes. And then lastly, shifting your mindset from doing more work in less time to generating more value with less work. And you're going to see that definitely through the demos and show you where you can see information very quickly and up-to-date information for all of your team. Also want to highlight here, this is really important, we like to talk about this a lot here at Expium, people, processes, and tools. Okay, so people, processes, and tools are the key things to doing whatever work you and your organization are doing. And they have been put in this order for a very specific reason, okay? Because I think we'd all agree that people come first, right? People are foundational to your team, to your organization, okay? And then with that foundation of your great people, then you're building in processes that hopefully are focusing on delivering value and making your people successful and your clients successful, and also about collaborating, like helping your people collaborate well. Okay. And then finally, once you have the people and processes in place, then you have the tools. Okay. And hopefully these tools are flexible, that they can support your people and don't hinder your people, that they support your processes and don't hinder your processes. So, so we like to say here that tools can be incredibly helpful. Okay. And we're going to show some I'm going to show some really cool tools here, but they can't solve your people or your process problems. Okay. So I think you probably agree with that as well. So just wanted to highlight that as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our attention to some of the great tools offered in the Atlassian ecosystem that can benefit any type of team, not just software development teams or IT teams. Okay, so we're going to turn here to Atlassian. Okay, Expium and Valiantis, we're a Platinum Solution Partner, very much focused on the Atlassian ecosystem. So I'm going to highlight a couple of the Atlassian tools in this webinar, but these are not the only tools in the Atlassian ecosystem. So Atlassian tools are ubiquitous. They're likely already in your organization. We often work with business teams who are ready to purchase Atlassian products, and then they're surprised that their company already has them, like their IT teams or their software teams are already using them, and they can benefit and join in. So, but all the teams, you know, so if you do have them already in your company, your team just needs to know how to customize them, and you work with your admins to help do that. But if you don't already have these tools, they're very inexpensive and they're very simple to get started with. There's no need to go to your VP of procurement typically to get up and running with these, especially if you're on the cloud. It's very easy to set them up, start free trials. Billing's pretty straightforward, and we can absolutely help you out with licensing or helping you get stood up with a brand new Atlassian product. So a few kind of quick words about these products. They're designed for teams. Okay, so they're very collaborative, flexible, scalable. They help you plan and track and visualize work well. And those are the Jira products here, the Jira Work Management. There's Jira Software and Jira Service Management. I'm going to highlight each of these. We're really going to do a nice demo of Jira Work Management, also touch on these other type of projects that you can get. These are 3 different products, by the way. So just note that as you're thinking about which direction you want to go in. And a lot of our clients have all 3 in their instance as well. The 4th product listed here is Confluence. This is a collaborative wiki-style documentation tool that we see most of our clients use if they have Jira, because there's a really tight integration between Confluence and Jira to highlight various details from Jira. And again, I'm going to be highlighting Confluence in this webinar as well. And then lastly, we have Trello. This is a board-centric tool. Some of you might be using even in your personal lives, and it can be used in different ways by teams. And as we'll see later on, this can be brought in line into Confluence. So a lot of different types of products. These aren't all of them. And just note that you don't have to purchase all these together. It's very much set up that you're buying these modules, okay? And you just use and purchase and license the products that your team needs. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to go through the rest of this webinar looking at some practical examples. So we've showcasing 5 particular ones here: task management, project management, hiring and onboarding, service desks, not just for IT teams, but for any type of team. And then lastly, just a highlight of documentation and the centralization of information, particularly using Confluence. So again, all of them are based on the better way to work principles I talked about earlier. I hope that at least one of these is going to resonate with you and your teams, and you're going to find value in it. So first, we're going to look at task management. And you'll see kind of a pattern here of how we're going to look at each of these. So first off, who is this example for? Well, it's for everyone, any type of team. And what are some of the problems related to task management? So one problem is, what do we have to do? What does our team have to do? What are we working on? Again, another one is everything up to date? How can I trust that my teammate is updating their thing, or where am I able to see real-time data? And then who is taking care of that? Who's responsible for that particular work item or task? So the solution at a very high level is central task management with multiple views. Again, ideally moving away from your spreadsheets into some tools that can bring a lot more opportunity for workflows and visibility. So here we're going to look at Jira Work Management. You could also potentially use Jira software as well. Lots of teams, software teams obviously use that to keep track of their task management. But we're going to look at like another opportunity here with Jira Work Management for any type of team that could use this. So here I'm going to shift over to our Expium demo instance. And I'm going to look at this accounting project. And for those of you who might be used to Jira, this is the cloud instance of Jira. And you notice this is a company managed business project. So Jira Work Management projects are called business projects. And this is a company managed one. So I'm going to jump in here. And if you've been used to using business projects in the past, whether in data center or server or the cloud, you'll notice that there's quite a big difference in the UI. Atlassian has made a lot of changes to this over the past year. So this looks a lot different than a software project or a Jira Service Management project. So you have a summary as you come in here, and this is kind of just a basic dashboard, if you will. And you can't really do too much changes with this. This is set up for you. And then you can come in here. There's a board view. And this is kind of similar to Jira or software project boards, but it's a lot more basic. It is going to be based off of the workflow that you've set up in your project. So each of these columns represents a different status in the workflow of your different issue types here. In this case, it's a pretty basic setup with tasks. These checkbox icons represent tasks that the team is working on. So you have a board here that you can move from one column to the next, noting that you're moving work along to the next part of the workflow. You can also click on these cards and see the view screen that you can also take action on in a lot of different ways. You can update fields, add attachments, many different actions you can take within this. And this is very similar again to Jira software projects that you might have worked in, very similar. So you have this board view. Then this next view is called the list view. This is unique to the Jira Work Management or these business projects in the cloud. You won't see this in a software project or a JSM project. So this again is meant to represent like a spreadsheet, a grid view of the work you're doing. These are all tasks. You can see the various fields laid out here in a grid view. You can make updates to them in line. So again, Atlassian is trying to replicate that spreadsheet view that again, a lot of teams work in. And then you notice that you can bring your work in to this tool, still get a similar view that you might be used to, but you have a lot of other views to make use of as well. The next tab is the calendar view. So this is again a built-in calendar UI where if you put start dates or due dates onto your tasks, they will start to show up here on the calendar. And the tool will also highlight in red which things are overdue, like past the due date. So you get a view, and again, you need to put in your dates in here to make it worthwhile, but you can get this view, which could be really helpful depending on the type of team you're on. There's also a timeline view. This is also like a basic roadmap view, if you will. So again, based off of those start and due dates, you're going to see timelines showing up here. And you're also going to see different statuses whether they're done, or blue means in progress. There's different ways to highlight these as well. So you can get a timeline view if that's helpful. There's also a Forms tab. Again, this is unique within the Jira products. So these forms are meant for you to share and capture work from other teams or other stakeholders in your organization. So you can create a form, share that, get some feedback, which would turn into new tasks for your team to consider, maybe ideas that you're trying to consider to work on. So these are out here as well that you could share internally. And there's a couple of other things. I'll just note here, there is a Pages tab that basically highlights that your Jira project can also be integrated very tightly with a Confluence space. And you can show pages in your Confluence space directly into Jira. So a lot of quick linking available here. And there's a number of other tabs. I'm not going to go in depth into that right now, but those are kind of similar to other types of projects you get in Jira with components and some reporting, things like that. So this is task management. And again, it's using a Jira work management project in the cloud. So let us go to the next practical example. This one is project management. So project management can mean a lot of things. It can look very different with different organizations, but this example is for PMO teams, HR teams, marketing teams, legal teams. I mean, really any type of team that manages projects, which is probably most types of teams. You're going to be working on larger pieces or efforts that would get broken down into smaller tasks. So the problem here, one of the problems is when you're managing projects, or when you're managing multiple projects, it's often difficult to keep track of the work when many teams are collaborating, or when there are many handoffs within a certain team. We often work with clients where multiple teams are trying to accomplish a feature or some sort of initiative. So how do you show that well within tools when there's a lot of things to keep track of? So alignment usually comes in the form of standing meetings or manual status reports, like lots and lots of meetings that just take up a lot of your time. And there's other ways to easily get to the data and the statuses that you can get to. Another problem is, things are tracked in Excel or PowerPoint, which can make collaboration and visibility more difficult. And there's also that need to be manually updated. It's living on somebody's shared drive or somewhere out there that might be hard to find, so that's another problem to think about here. So the solution at a high level is to make the project work visible, and it's easily modified as the team and the requirement or the environment requires. So, and also potentially it would automate reporting to cut down on those standing meetings. So we work with teams that just meet all day long, which makes it really hard to get work done when you're always meeting and talking about the work. So the solutions in the tools, we're going to focus on some solutions here. In this case, we're going to look at Jira Software and Confluence. Jira Work Management could also certainly be used here. So we're going to look at a particular case that we did actually help solution for a client. So I'm going to jump back into our Jira instance. And in this case, I'm going to go to this marketing project management project. This is a Jira Software project. Again, so you're going to see a very different look and feel from that Jira Work Management project we looked at earlier. So what this is representing, kind of at a high level, you see a couple different types of icons here. The blue lightning bolt icon is called an epic within Jira. And these epics are going to represent the projects. So you see a few out here: Project Alpha, Project Epsilon, Project Beta. So those are those larger work items, the projects that are then broken down into these tasks. Again, the blue check mark icon. So you can see them here on a board. This is a very basic board: to do, in progress, done are the typical, like a very basic workflow: to do, in progress, done. So you can see them out here. You can open up and see more of the fields within an issue when you click on the card. In this case, I'm clicking on the project alpha. Let's say this is the project that I am the project manager of. So I can see a lot of information in here, the background, the objectives, the scope. It's just a lot of, again, dummy language here, assumptions. I can scroll down and see the child issues. These are all tasks. There's also a milestone as well, and I can see the status. I could also see who's assigned to those as well. I can see Confluence pages that these are also referenced on. This particular epic is referenced in. I'll show you that shortly. And then there's lots of other data over here. I can see the workflow that it's in. We'll talk about workflows in the next example a bit more. And then there's lots of just finite bits of data. Who's working? Who's the assignee? What's the project size? Who are the stakeholders? What are the target start and end dates? And other information over here. So there's lots and lots of fields you could potentially put into a Jira issue. Jira is very, very customizable. So, but the highlight here is you can see the work out here on a board. You could also choose the roadmap view that's tied into a board. You can toggle this on or off and see a basic roadmap. Again, seeing your projects here noted as epics, and you can expand this and see the tasks underneath it, so you can see that work breakdown. For those of you who have Jira Software Premium, you can also use something called Advanced Roadmaps. Not going to get into that, but that's even a more robust road mapping view of the work that you can bring multiple projects in and see a lot of different work in a really cool way for planning purposes. So we're highlighting the projects and the tasks meant to complete those projects out here in a Jira software project. And then what's really cool is you could use this certainly for stand-ups or other things like that, but you can also use Confluence. And I'm going to shift now over to Confluence. This is a Confluence cloud instance integrated with the Jira cloud instance I'm working in. And so I'm over here in Confluence, and Confluence is broken up by what are called spaces. They're kind of similar to projects in Jira. So I am in the marketing space here, which is integrated very tightly with that marketing project I was just in Jira. And so when I scroll down here, Confluence is made up of what are called pages. And I'm going to go in over here into a page that we created for one of those specific projects that are represented by epics. So I'm going to look into that project alpha page. That's the project I'm managing. So we've set up a template. We did this again for a real client. We set up a template page for each of their projects that looks something like this. And so this allowed us to bring in information that's just specific to Confluence. Like there's a team calendars for Confluence app that we can bring in a calendar where you and your team can keep track of who's on vacation or when there's special releases or holidays, things like that. So that could be brought in here. I can also bring in some of the data from Jira directly into Confluence. Like here's the link to that actual issue or that epic over in Jira. And I can see the progress, what workflow status it's in. There's tables. These are really great for visualizing information. Some of the information in this table are statuses that are put into Confluence. So these are just directly manually put into Confluence. They don't come from Jira. But then down here under the project details area is a table that's made up of actual data from the Jira epic that this project is the source of truth of. So I can see some of those dates over here. So when the data changes in that epic in Jira, if I refresh this Confluence page, that data will show up real time over here in Confluence. As I scroll down, we'll see other ways that data can show up. So here are a couple of different macros that are representing a filter of issues. And so what this is doing is this is showing the current work underneath Project Alpha. Again, Project Alpha is made up of different tasks that need to be accomplished. So this is showing current work out there under Project Alpha. There's even a pie chart macro that could be used to show information in a slightly different way. I can see current work. I can see completed work. Again, this is all coming from Jira. So again, any changes to anything over in Jira is going to be highlighted real time here. Again, saving you the need to always be meeting. Your stakeholders can come here and see real time updates to the project. You could even see milestones over here, other information that's being put into that epic in Jira. And then there's other places you can put attachments onto these Confluence pages, and lots of different opportunities to put stuff directly in Confluence or to pull from Jira. And then lastly, for this example, we have a number of different projects. Alpha's not the only one. So we created a project dashboard page that basically is an index or a summary page that brings in the information from the different underlying pages here. So it's showing different links to those different Confluence pages, bringing in information from those pages, some of which was in Confluence, and then some of which again was coming from Jira. So, but you're putting it all in one place to summarize and get a very quick status update on each of these projects. And then down below, this is just a quick teaser that you can bring in advanced roadmap plans from, again, Jira Software Premium. If you have plans created out there, you can bring those inline into Confluence. And they are very interactive here, where I can see an update of these in a slightly different visualization. So again, a lot of cool things here, but really highlighting that you can use Jira as a source of truth for your projects and your tasks, see it very nicely in different ways in Jira, and then also bring it over and use Confluence to complement, to expand upon what you can put in each of those projects, and to use Confluence. We often see clients using Confluence for status reports and to even flesh out requirements, all sorts of things. Confluence is great for when you're really trying to document a lot more than really what's meant to probably be documented in Jira. So that is our project management example. So we're going to take a short commercial break, tell you a little bit more about Expium, and we're going to announce that winner here in a moment. Oh, we have winners. Okay, all right, we have 2 winners, so stay tuned in a moment. So just a little bit about Expium. We are, again, a Valuantis company now. Our offerings haven't changed. We still have training options, lots of different trainings, both public and private. For any of the tools that I'm showing you today, we have opportunities to be trained on those, and there's lots of other, again, Atlassian products like Jira Line and that we do training on. So a lot of training opportunities. You can check out our website, expium.com, for those trainings. I'm going to also highlight a few of the things later on at the very end that are coming up. We also offer consulting. So again, we are a suite of Atlassian experts. So lots of different consulting and help with either implementing Jira and Confluence, or just bringing in best practices, maybe potentially bringing in a new product. We're doing a lot of cloud migrations. If you're an organization that's using Jira Server, that's being sunsetted next year in February of 2024. So we're doing a lot of migrations of companies from server to the cloud. And so if your company needs some help with that, please reach out to us. But basically, any type of services, anything you need help with any of the suite of Atlassian products, we can help you. We also do a lot of custom development work. So whether that means an add-on to one of your products, or a custom integration using the APIs, or potentially a whole custom front end to one of your Atlassian products, we have a wealth of experience, a lot of full stack developers in-house, a great technical team that can do pretty much anything our clients need help with. We also, it's not noted here, but we also do provide licensing support at no charge for these various Atlassian products. So if you need help even with licensing, please reach out to us. Okay, the winners of the Power Bank, okay, are Stephen Bard or Baird, I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly. Stephen, you are one of the winners. The second winner is Brooke Fisher. Okay, so Stephen and Brooke, you are the winners. And Elizabeth, I believe you're putting some stuff in the chat about if you are one of those winners, please reach out to her. Yes, she just put something in the chat to email her with your details on how we can send you this really cool power bank. So awesome. Thank you for joining this webinar. We have a few more examples to turn to, and there'll be some Q&A time as well at the end. So we're going to carry on. Now with our third example, this is for hiring and onboarding. Okay, so who is this example focused on? Well, it could be for HR teams. That makes a lot of sense, but it's really for any team who has an onboarding process. Okay, we have a pretty robust onboarding process here at Expium that uses a lot of the stuff we're about to show you. So the problem. Okay, everyone has unique needs, and the processes are going to be changing over time. But we're looking at one particular problem that an insurance company had, and it involved their workflow, their onboarding workflow. So this insurance company had to hire thousands of people each year to be various agents, tier 1, tier 2 agents, things like that. And they had a very, very full pipeline. And they were struggling with coordinating onboarding tasks across multiple teams, struggling with syncing with their external systems, like their HIRS. And they're also just trying to meet insurance industry compliance. So a number of different problems, but especially they were just trying to scale an onboarding process that involved many different teams and a pretty complex process. So the solution, again, at a high level, was a tailored workflow. In this case, I'll show you 2 tailored workflows that provided clear next steps, as well as automatically validating information. The workflows had some automation to create tasks downstream for other teams to accomplish. And there was guardrails put in place for compliance, and also some automation and some integration with external systems. Not really going to show you all that, but there was just all sorts of stuff happening in the background that made that really helped these various teams work better together. And another part of the solution was just a reporting dashboard to show everyone involved in the process where these people were at in the onboarding steps. So the tools that we're going to show are Jira software. You could also use Jira Service Management potentially for this, for onboarding as well. But today I'm going to show you something within Jira software. So I'm going to jump back into our demo instance. And here I'm going to go to a different software project called Onboarding. Okay, and first of all, there is a board called the Tier 1 Onboarding Board. So this is focused on those Tier 1 employees or agents work doing that they're trying to onboard, to get trained, to get ready to do whatever work these Tier 1 folks do. So you can see here a board that represents the different parts of the workflow, and each of these issues, if you were, are people that are being hired, that are being onboarded. This one represents these users as Tier 1 employees, okay? And so, and any one of these, we could click on the card on the board and see a little bit more about them. Again, the summaries is the person being going through the onboarding process. There's other information about this, not too much here. This is a pretty simple example. But the one thing to highlight here is, again, the workflow. So up here in this upper right part of the view screen, you have the workflow statuses. And when I scroll down, I'm going to click on the workflow to view what was set up for them. So this, again, is the Tier 1 workflow. And we're just going to highlight a few things here, not go too in depth. But this is a workflow within Jira, and it can be very customized, but it's basically made up of what are called statuses, and then which are the lozenges, and then you also have these lines, which are the transitions, where you can go from one status to another status. So this workflow had the people being recruited, and then they're scheduled to be onboarded, if you will. Then they go through a training process that's represented by that workflow status. After they're trained, they go through peer monitoring or mentoring. And then once they go through that, then they're good to go. And there's a couple other places, there's a couple offshoots here during the process. Once they're recruited or in the scheduling process, maybe that employee goes, you know what, I don't think this is a good fit for me, or whatever, and they could withdraw. Or they might not show up. Potentially, things happen where employees just aren't, the company doesn't think they're a good fit for whatever reason, and there's a termination, so they could be terminated. And there's also a special workflow status. There's transition up here that you can do from any status, and you can, again, for any of these transitions, you can put in special automation that might update some things within Jira, or potentially there could be some really fancy automation that would connect to other systems, other external systems, and trigger things over there. So, but this is the high level workflow that's being used to help to know where is one of these people at in the onboarding process. And then with that set up, then you have this visualization of a board. So anyone can come in here who's a part of this, getting these people onboarded. They can see exactly where a given person is in the whole process. So that's the tier 1. Similarly, there is a tier 2. I'll just show you this quickly. There's a tier 2 board and a tier 2 issue type noted here with the 2, and a tier 2 workflow. So these are those users who maybe started off as tier 1, or maybe they're brand new employees, and they're being trained up and onboarded to be a tier 2 employee, whatever that happens to mean. But typically it means that they have more expertise. They would be the ones supporting the tier 1 people. So if we click on one of these cards and look here at this workflow, it's a little bit more advanced, a little bit bigger. Okay, here it goes. So again, this is meant for those employees who are going through a little bit more training to get to that tier 2 level. So again, they might be recruited internally or externally. They're scheduled to go through this onboarding. There might be some testing, some certifications to pass. So there's a testing status, then they're passed, they're certified, they go through some advanced training, again, peer mentoring. There's a couple other paths here you might skip over. Maybe somebody's already certified when they're hired. So there's a couple different things here. And there could also be, again, ways out where people just withdraw from this process or are terminated. And again, all along the way, there could be automation happening in the background. Again, to just make things, automation is wonderful. Let the tools do the work to save you from doing the work. So we definitely work with clients a lot with automation to help things just run and go a little smoother. And so that is this example, but ultimately they use these different workflows to onboard thousands of employees each year. And they kept them in compliance. Again, there could be different guardrails put around the workflows and around what's happening in the background to align everybody on the process. So that is our third example, hiring and onboarding. We have 2 more to go through here in our last 20 minutes. So the fourth example is service desks. Okay, so when you hear this, you might think, okay, IT or something, again, related to your computers or facilities, things like that. So, but who's it for? Well, it's really for any team you can possibly think of, okay? HR, marketing, facilities, legal, any team, okay? Because really, each of your teams are probably some sort of team that's providing a service, whether it's internally or externally with your company. Even though they might not feel like it, they're providing services, okay? So, and they could potentially benefit themselves and their customers, whether internal or external, could benefit from a service desk. So again, the problem is there's when you're dealing with services and dealing with different requests as a team, there's usually many different channels of intake, right? A team might get emails. The boss, will phone up somebody, or there could be a doorway conversation saying, "Hey, such and such needs help with this," or phone calls, things like that, text messages. There's lots of different intake channels for service requests. And so those are coming in different ways. There might not be a clear way to prioritize all of those different requests coming in if they're actually even all put in one place. So how do you know you as a team are working on the most valuable thing? Like what's the priority here? And despite your best efforts, those services often aren't provided with visibility, where the requester has a sense of is my request being looked at? Is something being done? What's the status of this? So that can just lead to frustration for your customers or your boss or your team. So when everyone's trying to find out what's the status, what's the update, where are things at? So the solution at a high level is a service desk that provides a clean intake form and a desk that keeps your requesters automatically up to date on where the request is, what's the status of it. And then also there's what are called queues on the back end for your team to manage the priorities and manage that, like how long is it taking to respond to this person? Are you meeting your SLAs? Things like that. And that everyone can see who's working on what and what order are they coming in, what's the next thing that needs to be worked on. Okay, so oops, let me go back here. So we're going to look at, specifically the tools we're going to look at are Jira Service Management. And we're going to look at Confluence briefly, but just to show the integration between Jira Service Management and Confluence for what we would call knowledge-based articles. So for this, I'm going to go back to our demo instance and highlight here. So this is a help center, what's called a help center with JSM. So this is now we're in Jira Service Management projects within our Expium demo instance. So what JSM introduces, one of many cool things it introduces, is a portal or a help center. And from here, you can do searches on different services or help you need at a high level. And you can also see here that one instance of Jira Service Management can have multiple service desks, or each of these really represents a JSM project. So there's an IT service desk project, an HR service desk, a facilities, you name it. You could have as many service desks as your teams need them. So there's this. You can also see some kind of quick notes on quick links to various request types that you could use. So I'm specifically going to focus here on the HR service desk. So I'm going to click on that, and we'll jump in to see what's shown here. So at the very top here it says learn more about. These are what are called help or knowledge-based articles. And if I click on one of these, let me click on FAQs. This just kind of shows other FAQs that could be shown here. And I could click on the new hire FAQ. And what this is showing is literally a Confluence page. So there's a really tight tie-in between a JSM project and a Confluence space where you can specifically help JSM show which Confluence pages to show out here. This happens to be a very curated list, but there's also algorithms that will help search through and help people find potentially an article that'll deflect the need for a service desk request to even be submitted. So this is coming from Confluence. And then if, let's say, these help articles don't help, I ultimately need to submit a request, I can click here. And then I see a couple different options for the HR. These are, again, the team is trying to think through what are my employees going to submit, and I want to make sure I capture the unique fields that are needed for this. So one example is employee onboarding. This is kind of a more complex or fancy screen. But you can make these screens very basic, or you can put some really cool forms out here using add-ons or some of the new out-of-the-box stuff with JSM. So you give the requester different fields to fill out. Some of these are required, but anything ultimately that is going to help one of your team members, one of your agents, to help with this customer. So that's a more complex, but let's go to something a little more simple, just a question for HR. This is a very basic example of a request type. So I'm submitting this request on behalf of myself. You would put in a summary. How do I order a new computer? Okay, and I type this in, and JSM's trying to find a help article that might help, and again, deflect this, and I might have something to look at. But in this case, I don't want to look at any of these articles. I just want to put in a description of my question. I'm going to keep this simple for now, and go ahead and click send. This then creates a new ticket within the Jira Service Management project. I can see the ticket ID up here. I can see, again, as the requester, some information I put in. I can see the status that it's in. I could potentially add other participants onto this. And I can even add comments. I can collaborate and communicate with the HR team out here. I can also go up here, and for this particular instance of Jira Service Management, I can click on the requests, and I can see the requests created by me, any requests that need my approval, potentially if I'm a manager and you're using approvals within JSM. So in this case, I'll just click on the ones created by me, and I can see a list of all these different HR requests. Or I also submitted a request to the IT service desk, and I can see where they're at, what status they're in, and when I created them, who's assigned to them. And again, this is just the visibility to help your customers know exactly where something's at in the workflow, and to allow that customer to communicate via comments to the agents. And then if you're an agent, I'll click on one of these. Let's go ahead and click on one of these. And I'll put on my agent hat. So as I click on this, I'm actually an agent here in this project as well. So behind the scenes, then your agents are coming in here, and this is the type of view they would see when they open up the ticket. They can see different information put on. They can see the SLA. The time to resolution is within 48 hours to resolve. I can see the clock ticking on this, and I can see other information out here as well. Lots to potentially show. We do have some JSM webinars coming up that if you want to know more about Jira Service Management. But the real highlight here is that there's something called a queue. And a queue is really, let me open this one up. Yeah, let me go to this all open and unassigned list. So this basically, these are like different filters of the tickets that are coming in. And I can see very quickly, are they being worked on? Are they unassigned? What's the SLA involved here? Has it passed? Things of that nature. And you can all see here, especially if you start to use the assignee, you can see, oh, my teammate has that one. Okay, oh, this one's unassigned, or maybe there's some auto assigning automation in place that can help you as a team, make sure that the work is covered. So a number of things here. Again, this is just scratching the surface of Jira Service Management, but hopefully you can see how valuable this could be no matter what type of team you're on, as a way to bring to control intake and to give visibility on where a request is for both your customer and for your team members. All right, we are almost out of time, so let's jump to the last practical example, which is centralized knowledge. So who is this for? Well, it's for everyone, right? Every type of team, every type of work is going to have some sort of knowledge base, whatever that happens to be around your projects, maybe your policies, different things you're working on, who your team members are, lots of different wikis that might be needed for you, for your team, or for your other people in the company. So the problem is, where do I find this information, right? Most companies have information in a number of different places, okay? And so it can make finding the information very difficult. And also, how do I know if this information is up to date? Okay, so those are some typical problems for knowledge bases. So the solution, let's go back here, is a centralized, organized portal for knowledge. So this is where Confluence comes in. Confluence is really wonderful at being an information portal where your information doesn't all have to be stored in Confluence and written in Confluence, but some of it could be, but Confluence is a great place to then point you to and have links or have some nice inline integrations with other tools so that users just have to start in Confluence and then they can be directed to exactly where they're trying to look for information. So just highlight a few things here over in our Confluence instance. I'm going to be back in our marketing space where we were earlier. And just again, to highlight a couple of cool things in Confluence, here is the team homepage. So this is just using a couple of fancy things. This is again, Confluence Cloud, but I can say some things about the marketing team, who we are, what our motto is. I'm highlighting also here, our team's highlighting the latest updates. So this is basically just a recently updated page macro to show you the most recently updated pages. You can put in some quick links about where to find us, how to reach out to us as a team. These are quick links to LinkedIn or YouTube or to an email. I can scroll down further and we can meet the team, see who's on the team, what their roles are, how to reach out to them, even within Confluence. Scroll down further, there's that team calendars for Confluence macro, again, where you can see when people are off or what are some other events coming up for this team. And then really want to focus in here in this frequently used resources. This is just, again, highlighting how Confluence can be that portal to point you in the right direction. So some of these links may very well be other Confluence pages, but a lot of these happen to just be links to, in this case, I'm scrolling over this and I see this is over in a Google Drive. Maybe your company uses Google, or maybe you use Microsoft, SharePoint or Teams or something like that. You could use Confluence to point to where you typically are using as a repository, or maybe you're using Box, or whatever you're using, your company is using. You can put those quick links in Confluence to point to that. So that's a couple of things from this team homepage. I showed again earlier about how you can utilize Confluence to represent a lot of great information coming from Jira over here. There's also many, many different templates in Confluence, including meeting notes. There's requirement templates. There's tons of templates in Confluence Cloud, but you could put your meeting notes out here with action items and people assigned to them and just capture as much as you want to from your meeting notes. And then down here, a few other things to highlight in this new product plan. There's a lot of just out-of-the-box integrations in Confluence Cloud to other cloud products. In this case, this page is representing a Miro board. We like to use Miro here at Expium. So once I'm signed in, go ahead and sign into Miro. All right, thank you. So I can use this, and again, it's interactive. I can come in here and adjust this, or eventually use this and go out to Miro itself. But I could, maybe this is just something I want to show everyone. And as updates are made in Miro, those are going to show up real time here inline in this Confluence page. So some real tight integration with Miro. This next page is going to show the tight integration with Trello. Again, Trello is another Atlassian product. Here's just a quick view, a glimpse of it. I'm not really demoing Trello, but Trello is board-centric. You can use it as a team, or you can use it personally, again, to just create a different column to represent the, and add cards in here that represent different tasks you or your team are trying to do. In this case, this is our team trying to get ready for a trade show in Vegas this year. And so we have all these to-do items, and as they're done, they can be labeled, they can be moved along on the Trello board by dragging and dropping. And again, all this, I don't have to jump over to Trello. I can do all this within a page, and my team knows where to go, and for us all to see it here in line. So that's another integration. Lastly, I'll show this final page here that just highlights some integration with Google. We use Google Docs and Sheets internally here, again at Expium. And as I put in a quick link to one of those Google sites, they can show up in line, where I don't have to go over again and open up a whole new browser window. I can just see in line some of the ad pricing or ad policies here. So again, some really tight integration between Confluence and a lot of different cloud solutions out there. So again, Confluence is a great place to be a pointer to a lot of information, to have however you want to organize this, by team, by department, you know, for knowledge base articles that again could be used for your company or for external customers, things like that. So we are now wrapping up. We are almost out of time. So as we wrap up, just really, again, want to thank you for attending. You know, hopefully, as you've seen all these practical examples and you've seen various Atlassian tools, that it's hopefully something that you and your teams could benefit from. And just wanted to highlight that these tools are not meant to be a replacement for systems you already have, like an HIRS. Okay, these tools are meant to fill the gaps that you have as a team or an organization with the problems that we've looked at, with visibility, with collaboration, with workflows, and making sure that there's clear next steps in a process. Okay, so again, lots of cool tools here, some processes that we've looked at, yeah, just a lot of really customizable solutions that you've seen a couple of those things. And if you want help in any of these products with any other sort of solutioning that you need for your company or your team, you know, definitely reach out to us here at Expium. Some ways of, I'll get to some questions here at the end in our final minute or two. Just wanted to highlight, you can reach out to me at jason.kidner@expium.com. If you have any questions or follow-up or want some more demos or whatever it looks like, or want to engage with us, please reach out to me. Elizabeth has already shared her information again for those winners, or if you want to reach out to her as well, she can help you. I'm highlighting on this screen that we do have some upcoming webinars and classes. Again, we offer some public, these are all public classes. Some of them are webinars. Every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central, we do some webinar here at Expium. But coming up, we have a Confluence Bootcamp and a Jira Bootcamp. These are our flagship trainings that we offer. Jira Bootcamp's 3 days. Confluence is an add-on 4th day if you want it. And then we have a number of, again, most of these are webinars that you see coming up later in March or in April. I believe Elizabeth also just noted that we do have a special event coming up at the end of March. It's related to, yeah, it's Willy Wonka. I don't know, Elizabeth shared those details, so I don't want to give any misinformation, but there's a special event coming up around some of these tools and chocolate. So please, yeah, go to our expium.com website. You can register for these webinars or classes and see all sorts of other opportunities and offerings we have. So with that, let me look at our Q&A. Got one question here. Let's see, you can't do dates in this +4 in a program management way. They have to be a concrete date. Okay, yeah, so this is getting back, thank you, Amy, for your question. This is getting back into the tools and whether if you're in either Jira Work Management or software. Let me go back to that project real quick. Within Jira, there are dates here. So they are concrete dates. You have to put concrete dates really to use timelines. You have to have a start and an end date or a due date. So there's different date fields that can be leveraged. If you need to specifically have something that's like +4, you can build in automation. Automation for Jira is wonderful in the background. There's other add-ons as well that can calculate the due date. Like if specific tasks are always supposed to be finished 4 days after the start date that's entered, you can put automation in there to calculate a due date. So that's just one thought. And you can, again, you can use other fields to say how many days out potentially that could be used in some sort of calculation within an issue. So a lot of different ways to play around with dates, but ultimately for timelines and for these things, there are date fields that somehow, some way would need to be filled out to be used for roadmaps and calendar views. So, all right, we are at noon, we are at time. Again, thank you again for attending, really appreciate it. A lot of other webinars coming up this month for you to check out. And yeah, I hope you have a lot of success with your team, potentially using these Atlassian tools. So thanks everyone, hope you have a great rest of your day.